Hello and welcome back to Power Up Gamers. I'm Jim D&D, the Disabled DM. And I'm very pleased to have a special guest with me today. The Rogue DM, Jenny, who's been a guest on my channel before. And she also has starred in The Provokers and runs a really good series, The Clockwork Opera, on her own channel. So I'll say hello, Jenny.
Hey guys, yep, it's me, the Road DM. Not entirely sure what is going to entail in this hangout, but I'm looking forward to it, and I'm still basking in 1,000 subscribers, which feels really good. So thanks for having me on, man.
Oh, no problem. And definitely want to congratulate you on the 1,000 subscribers, as that's a big thing for YouTubers. As I know, just breaking 100 in 7 weeks for my own channel was just amazing. I can't even begin to imagine how it feels to break 1,000. So, I want to do something a little bit different. Normally when Jenny's a guest on my channel, we talk about a certain RPG topic, and we then just hang out. She's kind of dropped into the video live stream I did about a day in my life. But this time, because not all of my viewers and community members have watched The Provokers, not all of them know her channel. Well, I wanted to give kind of the viewers a chance to get to know Jenny, not just the face. So some of these questions I know you answered last night on your live Q&A, but we'll be asking one or two of those again.
That's all right.
So I think the best place to start is the question you answered last night with what got you into GMing and kind of running your channel and into role playing.
Okay. I didn't really get into much detail about how I started GMing, but I did sort of talk about a bit about playing and things like that. So for most of my childhood, I did a lot of reading of choose your own adventure books. So I got into fighting fantasy when I was about 6 or 7. Although before that, it was Give Yourself Goosebumps, which feels really retro and 90s by now. Then I started writing my own, just as a kind of a hobby when I was about 13. Did those until I was about 16, and then I couldn't really finish the third one because loads of plot holes came up and I started having to do more work at school. It wasn't until I was 19 or 20 when I got into D&D. I didn't really like the idea of playing it per se, just because it didn't seem very interesting. I always thought D&D was a board game, which I know it has got like a spin-off board game to it. I think it's one of the Ravenloft games I was thinking of. But my friend Helen was like, no, this is how you do it. And I was hooked immediately. That was D&D 3.5. So I played a few of those, got better as a player. That did take some time. I didn't, get into it straight away with all the role-playing and storytelling, which is very sort of paramount to my games now. But then I decided one day, okay, I want to try DMing properly. So I did a couple of D&D games, and I did a couple of fighting fantasy games as well. There's a rather, I still get a bit cringy when I see it. The live stream of me on Roll20 doing like my first ever live game. But I've kind of grown from there. So I've done that now for 3 years. I've done all sorts of systems, obviously 5th edition and a Clockwork Opera, as you say. So I'm just always progressing and developing as a DM.
I know the first time I ever live streamed using the webcam running a one shot, the session was just awful, and I did so poor to my own standards just because of different things. I was doing it on like 36 hours of no sleep. I was nervous because it was first time using webcam, first time running a one shot for the OSG. And kind of the first time I'm officially that I have ran anything that wasn't Adventures League. So it was like the first time I really had the freedom to do what I want. And it was just probably one of the worst sessions I had ever ran.
Well, you always have good and bad sessions.
Yeah. That definitely happens, and I'm amazed at some of the GMs who put out like an entire series that is just like every session is just epic. Top of my mind is definitely Provokers. For me, it's hard to imagine like a 17 session campaign type thing that doesn't have at least one bad session. So I'm curious as to why you picked the Rogue DM for a name for yourself and your channel. For me, German comes from a nickname my grandfather, who was native, gave me, which means little warrior. So kind of as an homage to my ancestry, I use that, and then I just tacked on D&D to it.
Cool. Okay, I suppose there's two reasons. The rogue part was because my favorite class at that point was the rogue. I would always play rogues in 3.5 edition. And actually, I prefer rogues a bit more in 3.5 than 5th, just because of the versatility you can have with them. As long as you put enough in intelligence, you can pick all these skills that you want, and you can kind of customize depending on what kind. But anyway, and then the DM bit is quite interesting because when I started the channel, I hadn't actually DM'd anything. So I guess it was kind of me being ambitious and thinking, okay, if I put me as the rogue DM as opposed to, I don't know, like player or something, then it will get me to get into DMing, and that really worked.
Awesome. I never even suspected that would be the case with the name. It did really surprise me last night when you said you have been DMing for like 3 years.
Yep, that's right.
Just because of how many times we've talked on different topics, and you're right there with all the other DMs I've talked to. So that kind of surprised me.
It does feel a bit longer than that, actually, but it's been a whirlwind.
It's really weird how that works, because for me, I've been playing and DMing for over 30 years. And it seems like I have a good amount of time, but it doesn't seem that long. But I've heard a lot of newer DMs who's been doing it like less than 5 years say they feel like they've been doing it forever. So, I can't really ask questions specifically about the Clockwork Opera because I haven't watched very many of them, to be honest.
That's okay.
And it's not because I don't want to and don't like it. It's my schedule's so packed, and I'm subscribed to over 100 YouTube channels. And a lot of them put out several videos a week. So I kind of have to pick and choose. But if you like, why don't you talk a little bit about the Clockwork Opera kind of the setting, how you chose what players to be in it, and kind of how that's going.
Sure. Okay. Well, I was kind of feeling a bit not quite burnt out, but obviously a lot of stuff happened around the Christmas period, and I was feeling kind of shaken up, and I wanted to get into something new. I had been thinking for a while, oh yeah, I really enjoyed this real life campaign I was playing in that was steampunk with D&D. So I thought, I wonder if it would work if I could do my own. And it was thanks to Ronnie Bradley actually, who said, yeah, if you think that'll work, then go for it. And he kind of coaxed me onto doing it. And then I kind of started getting this image in my mind of the iconic M with the sort of circle around it.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, that looks really good. And my kind of own inspiration bled in this whole thing of steampunk, but I love cyberpunk and dystopian worlds as well. So the dystopian bit of like the totalitarian type government ruling this isolated steampunk city really kind of came into its own.
Awesome.
As for the players, well, I kind of did some world building. I did it on a Hangout for a bit, and then I just put out an interest post. First, it was Brigade, and I had a couple of people in mind already. What was good was I'd never played with Lloyd before, and I'd never played with Dante before, and that's turned out really well. I kind of knew Lloyd's playing style, but I'd never seen Dante playing before, so he was essentially a wild card. But I thought he sounds really enthusiastic and he really likes steampunk. So yeah, I've got to kind of get him in. And there were a few other people who I sadly had to turn down just because of the amount of people who were like messaging me about saying, yeah, I'd love to be in it. I'm like, sorry guys. So yeah, the first season is finished. We finished a few months ago, and we've done next character creation for season 2, and hopefully going to start that very end of August or beginning of September.
Awesome. I know I've had to turn people down as well for campaigns, and that's always a hard thing to do, especially if it's someone you've never gotten into DM for. So let's talk a little bit about how you handle that. Because I know for me, even though I'm always polite about it, or I'll say before, and I point them to other one-shots I'm doing or other campaigns that do have them, it's always, to me, it makes me feel bad that I have to reject someone.
Well, at the moment, I basically say to people, well, I'm doing one-shots for this, or I could potentially do a little campaign for that, and I'll bear you in mind. So I do write people down on almost like a waiting list. So I have got some things in mind, and I will look at those players first and see if they can do it. Sometimes I ask them and they say, oh, actually, I'm not available. But I always put them first.
Awesome. That's a really good way to do it, and I try to do the same as much as possible. So I have a really unique question for you. If you could buy or put out one PDF or RPG book, what would it be and why?
Ooh, tricky. Probably something to do with world building or kind of prepping games based on world building. Because I've really kind of found my style developing games as a campaign or sort of more detailed in terms of the individual sessions. Yeah. And it's really based around the world building. I know it's not everyone's style, but also I've talked a lot about it in my podcasts. I've got a new series called The Rogue Explores, which is about different places and world building with those places in mind. So yeah, I think that would be really good fun to write.
Awesome. I know last night I suggested you look into microscope. Oh, it very much is a wall building type deal, but I think you would really enjoy it. You, if you want, there's a review on my channel of it. There's,
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll give that a look.
There's Homeward Bound, which is a 5e campaign I'm kicking off. We did session 1 using the microscope RPG. And we'll be doing session 2 using it. Then session 3 we'll be using it to develop character concepts and their backstories.
Yeah,
so,
cool. I'll definitely check that out.
So if you kind of check those out, it will give you kind of a feel for that. But I am really enjoying how it works for setting up a world, because it's all collaboration and improv. There's no dice rolling, no GM. It's really unique. The biggest weakness I found in it is this: when it comes to combat or a disagreement type situation, when you act out a scene. And it's kind of what your players have to play off of each other. They can't just, oh, my character's gonna run away, and another one says, oh no, I'm gonna turn around and grab them. They kind of have to work hand in hand. Otherwise, it doesn't work for that kind of setup. So, we've talked quite a bit about your channel. What got you into doing YouTube? Let's talk a little bit about the types of videos on your channel, or what people can kind of expect who haven't seen your channel.
Sure. I'm actually making a new trailer. I promised myself I would do that for 1,000 subs, so that's on the way, just like a little public trailer.
Awesome.
People might know that it's kind of taken me a while to find my focus. It's been quite difficult for me making videos that are not live streams recently. But I think I've got momentum again with that. So I'm kind of axing a couple of series and bringing out some new ones, or sort of revamping them a bit. So obviously I've got my live plays, A Clockwork Opera, obviously is my big one. And I've also got my other gaming group that we kind of do it on a much more informal basis nowadays. And we've just finished the Dresden Files campaign with that. Then with actual videos, I've got Player's Digest, which is a small sort of bite-sized video series, if you like, for players to help them with whatever kind of tips for playing games with. I've got the Rogue Explores, which is for DMs looking to improve their world building in different places and think about different aspects of terrain and things like that. I did have First Impressions for a while, but I think that might go. I do the odd review, but due to just finances, I can't really afford to review something regularly, so I don't see that as like an official series, but there is the odd review on there. And there's also...
To give you kind of a help out with the reviews, you can get a lot of different PDFs for free or very cheap through DriveThruRPG and DMSkill.com. That's where I use a lot when I'm doing reviews, and I haven't been able to pick up a nice supplement in a couple months. I kind of use them as fillers in between the ones I can afford.
That's cool. Yeah, I do kind of like being able to hold the book, though. That's like a big part of it. And I'm also bringing back the Rogue Player, which was a series that was basically an account of different character backgrounds that I would be playing in campaigns, either online or in real life.
Oh, nice. I always thought it would be interesting because you see these online sessions and you see these characters as the campaign's going on. But a lot of times you don't see them reflecting on what's occurring. I just thought that would always be interesting. Mary Chris, one of my regular players, does a written blog about her adventures. And I just love reading it and going back and, oh, okay, this really hit my player. I didn't think it had that big of an impact.
Yes, so, that's all in the way.
That's always been something I thought was interesting.
Yeah, nobody really does it. So I thought I could kind of pierce the gap with that.
Awesome. I know, with YouTube, it definitely helps to find your own little niche. For me, it's definitely dealing with accessibility issues, special needs. So I'm kind of curious as to what some other DMs and channels think their niche is.
Well, I think some channels are more focused, and there's a lot of channels I know like to just discuss things either because they've thought of something new and they want to get people talking, or they do video responses a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And again, live streams are a big thing. Everyone does the live streams because I suppose you don't have to worry about editing or anything like that. You just set it up and out it goes. Then, you get people who review things sometimes. You get some people doing DM tips, but not really many player tips, which is, again, why I kind of went for that. And also a lot of people were requesting that I did player tips.
Yeah, I definitely find player tips aren't usually covered unless you have a series that is popular, that people ask questions. And a lot of the smaller channels don't really have that. I was doing the DM's crutch for a while where it was supposed to be people could ask questions about DMing or playing. And I just never really had a lot of questions. So I've kind of taken to doing that occasionally. I do think one of the niches that you kind of feel, even without it being intentional, is the fact of a lady DM, a lady gamer.
I think it may have had some impact, yes, but also the time I kind of started myself up, I think, was very important as well, because it was about a year before the community really took off and exploded.
Yeah, timing has a lot to do with it also. But I think that's definitely one thing that isn't, I wouldn't say isn't popular, but more of people aren't aware of it as much. And that's just because for so long, role playing has been guys in the basement hanging out. You might have someone's girlfriend joining the game, but it's never really been ladies coming to the forefront, as it's definitely starting to be. And so I think you kind of hit that niche too. I know there's a few others. Becky, a dungeon girl. Oh, and there's one or two others I know of, but not real big names.
Yeah, to be fair, the majority of people in the community are men.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just think it's always been that way.
Yeah,
Hey,
but it's getting better.
yeah, but I think it's definitely a niche you kind of helped fill, especially in the YouTube channels relating to gaming. Uh, So, oh, there's so much we cover. It's like, what do you ask next? Um, I think one thing that hasn't been asked that is kind of important is to talk a little bit about your inspirations, not
Mm.
only for starting DMing, running a YouTube channel, but kind of what keeps you going.
Do you mean in terms of running the channel?
Um, Channel, DMing, just basically in general, what keeps you doing what you do?
Okay. I suppose I am quite ambitious and I'm also a bit of a perfectionist, so I always like to work on something, improve it. I definitely see as well me coming into the fray as a new DM being completely down to me, so I feel very proud of that and that it was my own motivation. The thing is that, like, between Christmas and a couple of weeks ago, I know I've been technically putting videos out, but it was almost kind of like I was on a hiatus because I did feel quite burnt out. Apart from with A Clockwork Opera, that was really good, but with videos themselves, I felt really sort of burnt out and didn't want to do any. So it's not been perfect. It's not been a perfect run. And there's been a lot of issues with sort of focusing videos and stuff, but I think I'm getting there. It's a growth thing, and I'm excited to get back to it and kind of get into it again.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely understand the feeling. I was putting out so many videos at one point every day. It was like 2 or 3 videos, and I got to that at burned out stage because I was dealing with real life. I was DMing like 5 campaigns a week, 2 1 shots, uh, all these things, and it was just too much. So I had to cut back a couple times, and I found a comfortable level with basically 3 videos a week, not counting my live gameplays. As, but for me, a my inspirations and definitely goes out to several people, all of Absolute Tabletop, uh, Esper the Bird, or uh, for me, it was during a time I was living in Oregon at the time. I wasn't DMing, but I had a solid live face-to-face group that I loved being part of. Probably one of the best DMs I've sat under in 30 some odd years. Is excellent players. And I ended up having to move back to my hometown out in Illinois, which is smack dab in the middle of the Bible Belt, role playing, kind of a no-no. I lost all of my group, all of my friends that I had made for like over 15 years and was moving back. And the only thing I really had that kept me going with D&D and role-playing was these YouTube channels I was watching. Uh, And for those who have watched my disabilities and RPGs, they know I suffer from depression among other issues. So I was at a time was really depressed. Yes. I come back to my hometown. All my childhood friends that I had grown up with to my early 20s had basically moved on with their lives, which is to be expected because I was gone for like 15 years. Yes. And it really got me to that point of just giving up. And the one thing I can remember is anytime I started to feel really bad, I would turn on one of these YouTube channels. Whether it was Fistful of Dice, watching the Provokers, which was a tremendous help because Absolute Tabletop is just awesome guys, and it's something when you're a viewer of a group like that, you feel like you're part of the group. So they really helped me through this rough time. And then I started doing my own channel, which you were a big help with. So I just kind of want to thank all of you guys for that inspiration and keeping me going. But I'm curious if there's someone in your life, Jenny, that kind of holds that inspiration point for you.
Yeah. I suppose there's two people really who kind of both kind of have one after the other. One was Sean Connors, who's also known as the Outsider 68 on YouTube, who's been a huge muse, especially recently with improving my games, improving my convention games specifically. And then also John from Red Dice Diaries. He kind of got me to step up a lot as a player and also sort of planning my own games. And kind of, that was about a year ago actually. But kind of since then I've really developed myself as a storyteller as well as a DM, and that's kind of become my style ever since that.
Awesome. Lay down, Bear. Sorry, my mom's dog came down.
Oh, okay.
So, is there anything you would kind of like to tell our viewers?
Well, I just simply that if you check out my channel, then thank you very much. I hope you enjoy what you find. I still feel like quite a young channel per se, even though it's been going for 3 years. Like I said, there's always room for improvement and development, and I feel now almost like I've kind of had a new start. So yeah, I hope you like what you see.
Awesome. Well, I don't have any other specific questions for you. So, why don't we go ahead and end the broadcast, and then we can just hang out for a bit.
Sure thing.
So, I hope our viewers enjoyed this and kind of got to know Jenny a bit more. She's just been an awesome person to know. And until next time, may the dice always roll in your favor.